What's up, Lego fam? I'm Justin, and you're watching Good Life Bricks. Today we're taking a look back at a great old set, Lego Star Wars set 7171, Mos Espa Podrace. This set launched April 1st of 1999 and retired December 31st of 2000. It was $90 at launch and came with 896 pieces and 10 minifigures, 4 of which are unique to this set alone. Today it's valued at around $380 new in box, so there's a great value there. Around $150 if it's in the used or built condition outside of the box. I love this old set. It's one of the first from my collection, and I enjoyed finding all the pieces again. I enjoyed building it, and I did film a separate build video. So make sure to give that a look when you get a chance. It's a fun way to see this set come together and see all the unique things about this set and about the minifigures. 3 of these minifigures are buildable, and they're pit droids. One of them, actually 4 of them, because Gasgano is also buildable. One of them is barely a minifigure. We'll take a look at Sebulba. This is one of the few sets where you get Sebulba's Podracer, Gasgano's Podracer, and Anakin's Podracer all in one set. And I thought it would be fun just to take a quick look at this for old time's sake before I put it on the shelves and display it. And we'll talk about what's good about it, what's bad, and see what we like and see what we think. So before we do that, would you do me a favor? Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you like the video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up for me. And please also don't forget, leave me comments, leave me feedback, just whatever's on your mind. I'd love to hear it, answer any questions that you might have. I respond to all of the comments that people have left me to date, and I will continue to do so as long as I am able to. So thanks for your support, and let's dig in. So here you're having a look at Lego Star Wars set 7171 Mos Espa Podrace. And while this is a great set and a lot of fun to build, it is not an easy set to review because there's 3 independent builds, all of which could be their own set, and they're fairly large. So I thought we'd take a look at them here like this all together, and then I think we'll just take a look at one of them at a time. We'll go through a few of the features, we'll go through the things that are good and bad, then we'll wrap it up at the end. At that time, we'll also take a look at each of the minifigures that comes with each build. We'll see what we think. With that in mind, let's go ahead and start with Anakin's Podracer. So starting things off, we have Anakin's Podracer, and the majority of the minifigures come with this portion of the build. You've got Anakin's pit droid right here. He's brick built and is white and brown, while Sebulba's is mostly brown and Gasgano's is more white than brown. So that's how they distinguish them. You've got Jar Jar Binks. This is the original Jar Jar, and we've seen him in a number of the early builds. Later on, they gave him some coloring on his ears and some eyes and things like that. Then we've got the original Qui-Gon Jinn. I think this minifig is best known for that hairpiece, which I think is just spot on. I'm not sure, but it might be the same hairpiece that they're using for him today. It's a really nice minifigure. And then the original R2-D2, and there's a lot of color at the top of the dome and then a lot of space down to the body. And I'm not particularly a fan of that look. I like the newer versions of R2 better, and then the newest versions even have back print. This really old version doesn't have any of that, but great minifigure for the time. And then Padme, this is her in disguise, so Padme Nayberry, but obviously Padme Amidala. And there's very similar minifigures of her in this garb that are newer and with regular skin tones versus that yellow. The part of the build for each of the racers is their flag, and it just is just a couple of flags with a little, very little build in this case. And then, of course, we can't forget Anakin. So this is the original version of Anakin. They gave him, at this time, they were still giving him full-length legs and obviously yellow skin tone. They gave him a few freckles, and then his pod racing helmet. The thing about the minifigs at this time is really none of them had any kind of printing beyond their torso prints. So he's got the neck and the belt and some lines on his torso, but otherwise he really doesn't have much in the way of printing, nor do any of the others. And that's okay. That's how it all started. So the pod racer itself is nice. They did a really good job of giving us the engine flaps, which articulate, and cables that go from the engines back to the pods. The engines are well built and developed. They've got a lot of detail to them, and I mean, you know, this is very reminiscent of the pod itself. Speaking of the Anakin's pod racer, the pod is very nice. I love how they use the door to capture the logo, and they give us a printed piece on the front, a cockpit large enough for him to be able to sit in it and lean back a little bit, and just a lot of little detail to enclose that pod and really make it look nice. And I thought they did a good job. The only part about this pod and all of them that I don't care for is the structural piece. They used a tan color, I think, which is fitting for the location. They want it just to blend in. They want it to be kind of invisible. The problem is that unless you have this in a mock or something where you have a lot of other tan pieces or sand pieces, I just think it actually stands out. So in newer versions of this, they fixed that, and we'll take a quick look at that. But if you can, in your mind's eye, kind of blank out this center structure, the pod itself, the pod racer itself, is really cool. And I thought they did a fine job with it. Let's take a look at how they did the newer version. So this is LEGO Star Wars set 75258, Anakin's Pod Racer, the 20th anniversary edition from 2019. And I thought this was a better version of Anakin's Pod Racer. And the reason I think that is because of how they structure it, right, with these clear Technic pieces. It takes less imagination to unsee that centerpiece here than it does here, I think. And this is my opinion. The other thing I think that they did that I like a little bit better here are the energy binders that hold the two engines at the right distance from each other, and keep them from going off on their own. While this is ingenious and very inventive, this to me is just a little bit better because, I don't know, it's freestanding. It doesn't require like the structural piece to clamp down on it to keep it in place. And it's something about it does something for my imagination, and I just like it a little bit better. So, this particular set is my preference in terms of the way they build out the pods, but this is still a very nice looking build, and I really do appreciate it. Next up, we have Gasgano's Pod Racer, and this comes with a couple small pieces just like the other Pod Racer. This, though, is a little bit more detailed. team tent, I guess, where they keep tools, they keep the flag, they have a little bit of a cover, some place to hide from the hot sun. Then, of course, we have Gasgano's pit droid, comes with an oil can. Like I said earlier, he's more white than brown, but a combination of the two. And again, brick built, which is something that I think is kind of cool that they do. Now, we also have Gasgano himself, and he is an odd looking little creation. I love the way they built him. Basically, you've got 4 arms here, and these are the gray version of the battle droid arms. A head with a very unique face, and this this body, which is not often used in Lego Star Wars, and I'm not sure. I believe it's used 3 or 4 times total, and this is one of those times. And the head just sits on top of that body. You've got a similar racing cap to what Anakin wears, and then you've got the 4 arms. So as you can see, Gasgano's hands just grab onto these the steering column here, and then he leans back against the backrest of his Podracer and stays in place. I like the way they built him. I thought that was a good addition, and harkens back to what we saw in the Phantom Menace during the pod racing scenes. Gasgano's pod racer is quite a bit different than Anakin's. It's much larger engines. It still has the energy binders there that keep the engines together. It still has this structural piece that I'm not a huge fan of. The pod is not as detailed, I think, as Anakin's, but they do a nice job of adding a printed piece here, and gave plenty of space inside for him to be able to sit down. And then, of course, you have these cables that run from the pod itself up to the engines, which is all part of the, I think, magic of the pod racers. It structurally in the movie is what keeps the engines and the pod racers, the pods themselves, together. Now, Gasgano has a few surprises for his opponents. This hidden saw blade that comes out on each side of the engine, which he uses to cheat, and obviously for his own benefit, so he can win. But I do like the level of detail they gave us, and the way they built these engines. I think it's pretty spot on. And like I said, the only complaint I have is this structural piece. I like the way they did it for Anakin's better, and it's the only thing about this set that I'm just really not a huge fan of. So last but certainly not least is Sebulba's Podracer. Now they have a similar gathering place to Gasgano's with the tool hut area and the shade from the sun. This is his pit droid, which I told you about, which is mostly brown, just the white neck. Of course, then we have the pod racer itself. Sebulba's is the largest of all of the pod racers, the largest engines, the largest pod itself. So we'll take a closer look. First, I wanted to show you Sebulba. Now, they have made some one really cool version of Sebulba, and this is not it. I do like that they gave us a molded version of the character, but they should have given us a Lego version. They figured out how to do it years later, and they did a really nice job. But you notice they have him standing on his arms like he does in the show, and using his feet, in this case, to steer. And it just fits right over that steering column, and then snaps down into place, and works out really well. But the Lego version of this character is a better one. The detail on the engines is really quite good. First, they nailed the color. You've got the black and the orange. You've got his logo here. So you're able to move this piece out of the way and you see the interior side view of the engines, which is not bad. Those are cool little details that they gave us. They give us a lot of that today, and usually even more so. But I think for 1999, I thought that kind of stuff was really cool. You have these engine pieces that are typically present on like the Star Destroyers and some of the larger capital ships, but I thought they did a good job of using it here. You've got these saws that he uses, much as Gascano does, to the detriment of those around. And then you've got this exceedingly rare chrome piece, this what they call macaroni piece, that serves as a tailpipe of sorts, and it's just really cool that they did it in chrome. You don't see that kind of stuff much anymore for Lego Star Wars, so it's nice when you do see it. And believe me, pieces like that, you don't want to lose them because they get pretty expensive. So more of the same over here with the engine reveal and with the logo. And then I forgot to mention these two printed pieces, the front and the back. They have the same piece, and those are nice additions as well. And then at the very front, you have those energy binders, and then you have these additional saw pieces that, again, he uses to win races and cheat, and Sebulba stuff. I thought they did a good job of building out these engines. They used the 1x2 bricks with the vertical and horizontal lines on them to give you kind of that interior look on the engine wings, and they did that on both sides. So again, these engines are very large, and I thought that was well done. These are good looking builds. Again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the only part that bugs me really by today's standards are those center structural pieces. I just like the way they did them in later sets better, and I don't have the set, the Sebulba and Anakin Podracer set that came later. But they did do with that similar to what we saw with Anakin's Podracer with the clear Technic. So, they did a nice job with these sets, and they did a good job with these builds, especially when you consider that this was the first year of Lego Star Wars back in 1999. And we've seen some pretty creative but limited tools to make some of the older sets what they could have been over the years. I don't think this set suffered from those limits, with the exception of those structural pieces in the center, and they fixed that later on. So I think that's a real positive. So that's a look at Lego Star Wars set 7171, the Mos Espa Podrace. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you get an appreciation for some of these Lego sets that we see all the way back to 1999. They're a lot of fun and very historical, and it gives you a sense for where Lego Star Wars started. And I think that's pretty important. When you look at some of today's stuff, it's absolutely mind-blowing that they're able to design and create some of the things that they are able to these days. And even going back 25, 26 years to where it all started, you get a real sense for what it was they wanted to get done, and what they were trying to accomplish, and who knew 25 years later that it would still be going so strong. I just think these are great sets, and I'm glad to have them as a part of my collection, and I'm glad that we got the chance to go through them together. I hope you enjoyed it. So if you liked the video, please don't forget to hit that like button for me. And also, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Don't forget to leave me comments, feedback, or what have you. Thank you so much for being here for this review. Don't miss out on the speed build for this set, and I'll see you soon.